Hello everyone. Today I'm here to do a video that I didn't think I was going to do this year, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. So today I'm going to do 22 books I want to read, and you guessed it, 2022. So it's the beginning of the year. We all have different goals and plans and reading goals we want to hit, and I myself am like that as well. I don't have a lot of set goals for myself, but there is one goal in particular that I really want to work on, and that is reading backlist books. I have noticed, especially with last year, that I tend to read new releases 90% of the time, and I enjoy that, but I also don't enjoy that, if that makes any sense at all. I realize that I just kind of want to focus more on backlist books, and not focus so much on new releases. I think somehow in my mindset, I'm like, I always have to read new releases because you guys want to know if they're good or not. Should you buy them? Should you get them from the library? And I'm like, you do want to know that, but you also want to know about backlist books. There's no rule for when books come out, when you can talk about them, if that makes any sense. And I've just noticed, that I put so much pressure on myself to read new releases that I miss out on a lot of great books because they're backlists and things like that. It makes no sense at all. So I thought I would make a list of 22 books that I really want to read this year. Do I think I'm going to read 22 books? Do I think I'm going to read all of these? Probably not. Just realistically, no. You guys know I've said time and time again, I have a 7-year-old special needs son and I have a 5-month-old daughter. So it's, reading is tough. So my goal is to try to read at least half of these. So 12 of them, that would be great. But I thought, you can't put 12 books you want to read in 2022. You got to put 22 books you want to read in 2022. If I could pick, I would read all of them. But yeah, either way, these are backlist books, meaning they either came out, in 2021 or earlier. I really try to do that. So let's get into it. I even made a little cool graphic I can use for Instagram. I can X out when I read them, so it's even more motivation. I think I put a template up for you guys to do as well in case you want to do it. Go for it. I have had too much fun on Canva recently. So yeah, let's do it. Number one, the book that I really want to read that I'm definitely going to make a priority this year is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is his newest book. If you guys don't know, he wrote The Martian, which I actually read a while ago when the movie came out, and I really loved it. So again, one of my main priorities for reading this year is to read backlist books, but the second one would be to read more sci-fi, just because I don't read enough of the genre and I do enjoy it. And I thought, I want to branch out. I've branched out in so many other avenues when it comes to genres. With horror, I never thought I would read horror, but I enjoy a couple of them within reason. And sci-fi is another genre that I think I could really enjoy if I branch out more. So there's a lot of sci-fi on this list, but Project Hail Mary is number one on my list because I've just heard nothing but amazing things about it. I've loved The Martian, so I just can't wait. And honestly, I don't know what a lot of these books are about. I just know that I really want to read them and they sound really interesting. So will I tell you what they're all about? Probably not. Another one is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. This one has been raved about time and time again. I don't know what year it got published, but goodness me, it blew up. I know it's going to be a movie. It's like a part historical, part thriller, part literary fiction, a lot of different genres in one. I think it takes place in the Deep South. I've heard amazing things about it, but I've also heard a lot of people don't like it. So I just want to read it to figure out what I think and just to read it, honestly. I've just had it on my shelf for forever and I do want to check it out. And another thing is I kind of stray away from very serious books because they really affect me. I know that's really weird to say, but it's honestly true. If I read a sad book, it's going to make me sad. But I realized I got to do it. A lot of the sad books I read are amazing, that stick with me so much, that I love. The Nightingale, sad as mess, but it's my favorite book of all time. So I need to do that. So, we're going to do this together. Next up, Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Santano. This book I get recommended probably the most out of any book ever. People just say it's hilarious, it's funny, you need to read it, you have to read it. So I am definitely going to read it. I've heard amazing things about it. I think it's about a girl that, I don't know if she accidentally stumbles across a murder or sees a murder, and all of her aunties have to help her, and I've just heard it's hilarious. So I cannot wait to read this one. Then we have The Sweetest Remedy by Jane Agaro. This is a book I was going to read. I have it right here. I was going to read her previous book, Ties That Tether, but I believe that has to do with miscarriage, and that's a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. I've had several, and it's hard for me to read about. So there are some books, like I said, that are serious that I do not try to read the topics because they're very triggering to me, and miscarriage is one. So I wanted to read that, but I know it's going to be hard. So this one is, I think, a little bit lighter. It's about a girl that meets a guy, and I think I want to say they go to Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, to attend the funeral of a father she never knew, and she meets her extravagant family, and she finds an inspiring love interest. It just sounds amazing. I only have a couple romance on this list because I read predominantly romance, and I really want to shift that this year and try different genres. Not to say I don't love romance. Rest assured, your girl's going to still read a ton of romance this year. Next up is one that I've been meaning to read forever, and that is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This is his YA series that's sci-fi, and I've heard if you really wanted to get into sci-fi, it's a great beginner's book. I've read one other Brandon Sanderson book before, Mistborn, which is great. It's an adult fantasy. It is, it was kind of hard for me to read because I'm just not very into fantasy as much as I would like to be, but it is what it is. But I've heard amazing things about his series Skyward. I have the first book and the sequel on my cart, so I need to read it all of these I need to read ASAP. Speaking of sci-fi, another one that I've had on my shelf for forever that I cannot seem to part with because the plot just sounds so interesting, and that is The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. I believe this is about a girl that has several clones and they live in different, I want to say like different galaxies, or maybe different, like in different times, and she has to go like defeat all of them. It's something of that nature. This is a one that came out like, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, and it just sounds so appealing to me that I'm going to make it a priority to read this year. Every year I look at it, I'm like, I should really read that. And do I? No, but this year I'm going to. Next up is a literary fiction. This is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This is one that I believe it's like a library, and it's about a girl and she can go back and kind of relive things. I'm not sure, or maybe it's about like she can go back and change her past or something. So it's got a time travel element into it, but also it's very sad. This one I think won the award for Goodreads a couple years ago. This one is maybe I'll read, maybe I won't. I'm not like super like really wanting to get to it. I'm just intrigued by it. It's one that I will butcher the title of insanely much, and that is The Inheritance of Cordita Deneva by Zordita Cordova. This is I don't know, is this a YA or is this an adult? I know it's a fantasy, and it just sounds amazing. It's about this family that has like all these powers, and I think the grandmother passes away or she gives them powers or something. It sounds so insanely interesting. Again, I don't know if it's YA or adult. Let me know in the comments below. I think when I looked it up with Goodreads, it was adult. So I don't know. It just sounds so interesting to me that I want to check it out. Next up is one I actually just started reading as of filming. This will probably go up a couple weeks later. In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This is a mystery thriller, a very dark academia. Like when I was looking at a lot of people's 2021 favorite books, this is one that I saw like on a lot of people's list, and I do really love mystery thrillers. So this is about a group of friends that goes back to like their old prestigious college for the reunion, and one of them is murdered, and her name is Heather. So that's going to be, interesting to read because my name is Heather and the character's murdered. So yeah. Anyway, you figure out like one of them did it probably, but you're figuring out which one they did, and I think you delve into it. I've heard it's really full of unlikable characters. Like I said, it's in a dark academia setting, so I cannot wait. Like I said, I literally just started this. I think I just finished chapter 2 as of filming, so I'm starting on my list strong. Next up is one that I have high hopes for that I'll get to, but I don't know. And that is A Discovery Witches by Rachel Harkness. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of this. Whenever I talk about like paranormal witchy books, this book gets recommended a ton. It's made a show, but this one is so polarizing. I've heard amazing things about it, but I've also heard really not the best things about it. So I'm not quite sure where I'm going to fall on the spectrum of it, but it's on my list. Next up is The Passengers by John Mars. I've read 2 John Mars books, and I really loved one of them, didn't like the other one. The Passengers is one that I think I'll really enjoy, but it's going to be a very hard-hitting like book. I think it's all about cars that drive themselves, like kind of like Teslas, and all these people watch, and you get to decide which one of them lives and which one of them doesn't. And one's like a pregnant mom, one's like a dad. It's a lot. It's a hard choice. Like it's one that's going to be like, how can you make this choice? You should never make this choice, but here we are. So John Mars is definitely going to hit it strong. I hope to like this one because, like I said, I loved one of his books, and the other one that I read wasn't a fan of. Then we have The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. When I was just looking up books to kind of put on this list of backlist books that sounded really interesting to me, this one really stood out. So I think it's all about, it's been a while since I've done this list, just forgive me. It's all about these elderly women that meet up for this book club, and they read a lot of mystery thrillers, and I think murder happens around them, and they decide to solve it themselves. I could be 1,000% wrong on this, honestly. I don't know, but I think that's the gist of it. I think there's even a sequel to this. I don't know, but it just sounds really appealing to me. Speaking of sounding really appealing to me is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This one has been raved and raved about for a few years here on BookTube, and I own it, have yet to read it. It's like a heartwarming book about a guy that kind of goes to this house where it's all of these kind of kids with magical powers that don't have the best magical powers, or maybe they're kind of bad, and he falls in love, and then he falls in love with the kids too, and just is a very heartwarming, adorable book. The sequel came out this last year, if I'm not mistaken, so I need to get on it. Like all of these, like, well, I'm just gonna keep repeating myself. Another sci-fi that I would like to read, but I don't know, and that is All Systems Red by Martha Wells. This is actually a novella series. I think like the 5th book is the only one that's like a full-length novel. Because I was looking this up, I noticed this book was only like 150 pages. I was like, whoa. But basically it's about this, it's the Murder Bot series. A lot of you guys recommended it to me when I was like, what sci-fi book should I read? And it's about this robot that like goes against the government, all that stuff, and develops feelings, and like it kind of goes from there. And I don't know, like it's gonna be hard for me to read because I don't like robots. I'm scared of robots. They just frighten me. I'm afraid one day we'll be taken over by robots. There I said it, moving on. Thriller I have always wanted to read when I first got into thrillers, but I've always been kind of apprehensive about is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. This one has been raved and raved and raved about. I haven't read it because it was too dark for me and I thought it was almost horror, but your girl's read a few horror. I can handle this. I can handle this. So I'm gonna read it this year. I've heard like literally nothing but amazing things about it. It's like a dark thriller about like a director and something like that. I'm not sure, but like when I hear Marisha Pessl, you automatically think of Night Film, no other book. Next up, another sci-fi one. I believe this is another novella series, and that is Binti by, I'm not going to try to pronounce that title. I'm not going to try to pronounce that author. I'm so sorry. So this one's another kind of sci-fi book where I think a character goes into space and things like that. I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. Like I said, I asked on Instagram a while ago, like what sci-fi books are great. This one was recommended a ton, so it is on this list. Likewise, Hench by Natalie Zeno Walshots. I believe I've heard this on Riley from Riley Marie's channel. I believe this is all about a woman that kind of works for like, I don't know if she works for the heroes or if she works for like the villains. And I think maybe she works for the heroes or something, or the crime, and then she gets injured by a villain. I know. Then she gets injured by a hero and she's like, I'm gonna get revenge. Something of that. I just know it has to do with like heroes and villains, and I'm a big fan of those stories. And this is gonna be kind of about like the people that are in the world, like the regular people, I think. So it's gonna be very interesting. I could be 1,000% wrong on this. Like, oh my gosh, I've just heard amazing things about it. So there you go. Next up is The Princess Trap by Talia Hibbert. This is a book that I just really want to read because I have read a lot of Talia Hibbert's books. I've read probably like 5 or 6 of them, and I really would like to read her whole backlist log this year. I don't know if that's possible or not. I don't know, because I really want to do an author video on her, but this is one in particular that I really want to read. It's all about a princess that falls in love, things like that. Talia Hibbert's right, it's amazing romance, we all know this. We have like the biggest mystery thriller last year that everyone loved, and that is The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave, which surprised when I looked it up. I had already read a book by Laura Dave. It was very different. It was kind of like a chick lit book that I did not enjoy, but this is all about a woman that husband dies, and I think she's trying to like be a detective and figure out herself. This won the Goodreads Award last year for the best mystery thriller. I've heard amazing things about it, so I thought, why not? Then we have Velvet is the Night by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I've read one other book by her last year, not last year, the year before, I think, Mexican Gothic. This one's another historical one. I think this one takes place in the 1970s. It's a mystery thriller. I don't know, I just really want to check it out. Then we have another sci-fi, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I have heard a lot of amazing things about this one too. Another sci-fi one that I want to check out. The last one I have is Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie. I have read one other Agatha Christie book before, and then there were none, and I enjoyed it. And I want to read more kind of classic mystery thrillers. So I thought another Agatha Christie book will do. So Death on the Nile is my last one. So there you have 22 books that I want to read in 2022. Will I read them all? No, like I already can tell you without a doubt right now, it's not gonna happen. If I could read half of them or a little over half of them, I would love that. But either way, I thought I would make this video, I thought I would make this graphic to like just push myself to read more, not just new releases. It's a problem I have that I see within myself that I want to change. Like, I don't know, it's just something that bothers me. So I need to really work on it. I think I just rely so much on e-reading, especially with NetGalley, that I'm just constantly looking at new releases. Like, it's a problem. I just need to get back on the backlist train and read a lot of amazing books that I've been wanting to read for a while that I just keep pushing off for no good reason at all. So I would love to know what books you want to read this year that you've been pushing off for a while. Like I said, I have the graphic. I've left it up on my Instagram for you to do so if you want to, you know, pull your pictures in and put 22 books you want to read in 2022, you're more than welcome to. But yeah, I thought this would just be a fun video to do. Thank you guys so much for watching, and here's to hoping I can read a good majority of these this year. Bye.